Welcome. Welcome to our online lecture for our course Probability Methods in Engineering. Today we will be studying further topics in the second chapter of the book regarding random variables. So in the previous lectures we did have an overview regarding what a random variable is. So we discussed some properties of the random variable and we said that a random variable is like a variable that varies, but it varies randomly. So it was defined as a function. So we defined that function and that function actually helped us to plot the different probabilities of that random variable, and we actually called that the PMF of the random variable. So when we derived the PMF of the random variable, we also defined what is the CDF of the random variable, which was actually accumulated probabilities of that random variable. So having this knowledge of what a random variable is, what is the associated PMF and what is the associated CDF with it, we now extend our discussion to some specific random variables. But before going ahead, it is kind of important we at least solve one more problem to have a good understanding of PMF and CDF again. So here's a problem for us. It says that a random variable X represents sales of drones based on number of sensors installed on a certain model of drone. So this X, the random variable X, now you have to remember that it represents sale of the drones. It does not represent the sensors on the drone. It does not represent the quality of the drone. X does not represent the price of the drone. It only represents the sales of the drone. Okay, so if let's say if X has a certain value, then it means that X has a certain amount of sale. Okay, so the company offers different drone models having 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 sensors. So there are different numbers of sensors on this random variable X or this drone that is being sold. The sensors are expensive, therefore sale of drones with X number of sensors is twice as compared to drones with X plus 1 number of sensors. This means that if X is equal to, let's say, 5, then the sale of drone with 5 sensors is twice as that of sale of drone with 6 sensors. Okay, because sensors are expensive, drones get expensive, so people don't buy those expensive drones. So the sale is such that the sale of X is twice as compared to sale of X plus 1 number of sensor drones. Okay, so this is the situation with us. So what do we have to do? We have to plot the PMF of X and the CDF of X. Okay, so let's try to do this. So the PMF will look something like this. If you remember, on the y-axis we have the probabilities and on the x-axis we have the image of the random variable. So X is the name of our random variable, or we could also write small x over here because it represents one specific value of the random variable. So on the y-axis we have probabilities of this X. Since it is a discrete random variable, I am using the notation of capital P to represent this PMF. Okay, and on the x-axis, what values does X have? So X can have a value of the number of sensors on the drone. So because the information tells us that the drone with 4 number of sensors, so I'll write that drone with 4 number of sensors, or drone with 5 number of sensors, or 6 or 7 or 8 number of sensors has certain amount of sales associated with it. Okay, it says that the sale of this 4 sensored drone is twice more than sale of this 5 sensor drone. Okay, so the sale of this 4 sensor drone is, if it is this much, okay, if these are sold this much, then the drones with 5 sensors are sold this much, half of it. Okay, and drone with 6 numbers of sensors are sold this much, half of 5 sensors. Okay, and so on. So this will roughly be the shape of the PMF. This is how the PMF will look like. So the drone with 8 number of sensors has the least sale as compared to drone with 4 number of sensors. So I've plotted this function, but I've written the exact value of the x-axis, but right now I don't know the exact value of this y-axis. Okay, because I don't know these probabilities. All I know is some information on the amount of sales, not the exact number of sales. So the information that is given to me is such that if this value is P, okay, so if drone with 4 sensors are sold with probability P, then drones with 5 sensors are sold with probability P by 2, half of that drone with 4 sensors, and drone with 6 sensors, then half of this becomes P by 4. So this is the probability of selling a drone with 6 number of sensors. So what I know about these probabilities is that the sum of all these probabilities should be equal to 1. By that I mean that P plus P by 2, the sales of 5 sensor drones plus the sales of 6 sensor drones plus the sales of 7 sensor drones, which will be half of this, plus sales of 8 sensor drones, which will be half of this, which becomes P by 16. All this sum should be equal to 1. Okay, so with this setting I can now find the value of P very easily. Okay, so whatever the value of P is, I'm sure you can find it straight away. Whatever the value is of P, I can plug this value over here and I can find all these probabilities. Okay, so now I can put these exact values over here by finding this probability. The next step was actually finding the CDF. So if you remember, the CDF was accumulated probabilities. As we go towards the right, the probabilities keep on adding up, and on the y-axis we have a representation of these summed up values. Okay, so if I look at this PMF, as I move from left to right, there is no probability until the point 4. When we reach the point 4, P amount of probability gets added to this function. So I get a jump of P over here. So I have not written the exact value of P. You can find out this value easily over here and replace the value of P with this constant. So this P, this value, the CDF at the point 4 is now has a value of P. Now when I go further ahead, that is when I reach point 5, I get a more probability of this P by 2, because if I look at the PMF at 5, at x is equal to 5, the probability of P by 2 is added to this function. Okay, so when I move towards the right, another probability is added of the amount P by 2. So this value must be equal to P plus P by 2. Again, you can write down the exact value. So I leave it to you as an exercise. And as we go further ahead, we notice that on 6 and 7 and 8, these probabilities get added up. At 6 I have P by 4 added up, at 7 I have P by 8 added up, and at 8 I have P by 16 added up, and over here the value now approaches 1. So at this point, at this specific point, the value of the CDF will definitely be equal to 1. Okay, so this is as per the definition of the CDF that we discussed earlier. It's an increasing function towards the right, it's a continuous function, and it accumulates the probabilities of the PMF. So this is how I've written down this PMF and CDF. Okay, so the next target was to find out the value of this probability that x is equal to 7 using the PMF. So if I use this PMF at x is equal to 7, this is the value. So the probability that x is equal to 7 is simply this probability written over here, which was actually equal to P by 8. So you can find it out exactly what this value is. So the next point was to find out the probability that x is less than 7 using the CDF. So the probability that x is less than 7, but now I want to find this probability using the CDF. So the CDF says that the probability of this value actually, this is the probability of all values until the value x is equal to 7. So this means that this probability contains the probability that x is equal to 7 plus x is equal to 6 plus x is equal to 5 plus x is equal to 4. So it has accumulated all the probabilities. So I do not want to add all the probabilities for this case. In fact, it says less than 7. So if I reach the point before 7, the point is actually 6. So what it wants me to say is that this value is equal to the probability that x is less than equal to 6, because it says that 7 is not included, but all the points before 7. So all the points before 6 including 6 become available in this equation. So using CDF I can very easily find out this value, because the value of the CDF at this point at x is equal to 6 is the sum of all probabilities before 0.6 including the 0.6. Okay, so if I want to find out this probability, I can find it out using this probability because they mean the same thing, and this probability can be found out using CDF by this representation. Similarly, it asks me what is the value of the CDF. Find out the value that probability is x is greater than 6. So the probability that x is greater than 6 using the CDF. Okay, so if I was using the PMF, I could simply add those two values, x is equal to 7 plus x is equal to 8. So that would give me the answer. So because these two values are greater than 6. But in this problem, it is asking me to find this value using the CDF. So how do I find this value using the CDF? If I remember, this value must be equal to, as you can hopefully understand by now, this value must be equal to, or this probability must be equal to this probability. So do you agree? Because the probability that x is greater than 6 is same as the fact that I find the probability of x less than equal to 6 and then subtract the answer from 1. So since this value can be very easily found using the CDF as this found out in the previous equation, so I do this again, and this value will return me the probabilities of x before 6 including 6 using the CDF, and if I subtract this answer from 1, I will get this probability. Okay, so you can say that this probability and this probability and this probability are actually the same thing, just written in different formats. Okay, sorry, this one is not the same thing. I'm sorry. This can be written as this probability, which over here is the same as this one, but this is not exactly same as this one. Okay, so anyways, in all these three calculations, two calculations I was required to find out this probability, which can be easily found out using the CDF. So this is one of the you can say utilities of the CDF function, that it can find sum of probabilities very easily. So now we discuss some further discrete random variables, and as you can see over here, it says that we are discussing some families of discrete random variables. What do we mean by the families of discrete random variables? So actually the problem is that in certain practical and some natural phenomena, we observe there is some distinctive kind of randomness that repeats over and over. There's a certain kind of pattern in the randomness. So we are trying to look for these patterns. For example, just let me give you one more example. Suppose we want to find out that we toss a coin 4 times. What is the probability that we observe 2 heads? Okay, so 2 heads can be located over here, or 2 heads can be located one over here and one over here, and in different positions. Similarly, I say that you transmitted 2 bits, you transmitted 4 bits, so the bit can be 1 or 0. So what is the probability that the 2 zeros are present? What is the probability that these 4 bits contain 2 zeros? So 2 zeros can be over here, or 2 zeros can be over here, or 2 zeros can be over here. So there are different positions where 2 zeros can be present. Similarly, I can say that 4 students are attempting a course or an exam of that course. What is the probability that 2 students will pass this course? So these 2 students can pass the course. So just write it P for passing. Or these 2 students can also pass the course, or these 2 students can also pass the course. So there are different settings where 2 students can pass, 2 students in a group of 4 can pass this course. Similarly, there are 2 zeros in a group of 4 bits that can occur on these 4 places. Similarly, there are 2 heads in these 4 trials that can come up in this coin toss. So if you notice, there is a similarity in both in these three experiments. The first similarity is that the individual trial, this one single trial, is composed of such a case where I have either a success or a failure, either a head or a tail, either a 0 or a 1, either a pass or fail, and then it repeats 4 times. So in 3 of these experiments, there is a certain kind of pattern that is repeating over and over. So what I do is, or what I want to do is that in the future, I would like to group these experiments into one class of experiment so that I know that this randomness is a certain kind of randomness that is following a typical pattern. Okay, so that is my goal that I want to do right now. So this particular randomness, I would like to define it or describe it using one random variable. Okay, so let's dig deeper into it. So how do we define a certain kind of random variable? The first random variable that we will discuss is a Bernoulli random variable. You can say it is probably the simplest discrete random variable. So it is based on a experiment with only binary outcomes. Like we discussed in the previous experiment, if we either have a head or a tail, we either have a bit 0 or 1, we pass or fail. If this is the scenario, then this one experiment or this one experiment can be represented by a Bernoulli random variable. So we can say that a coin toss is actually a Bernoulli random variable where we either observe a head or a tail. So these two examples, that packet is either received or it is not received. So bit has either an error or it has no error. So these are the examples of a typical Bernoulli problem. So we like to represent this random phenomena of error taking place. We like to have this random phenomena of packet being received or not received be represented by a Bernoulli random variable. Okay. So in this example, we say that this is an IC, and this IC either functions or it does not function. So this is the scenario. So the functioning of an IC is actually a Bernoulli random variable. So a random variable must have a PMF. So the PMF of a Bernoulli random variable is, as you can see, very simple. It has only two outcomes. In this case, 0 and 1. If one has the probability of P, then the other definitely has the probability of 1 minus P. Okay. So this is how a Bernoulli random variable's PMF will look like. So this is a more detailed image of a Bernoulli random variable. We have on the x-axis the image of the random variable, and on the y-axis two probabilities. Okay, so that is how a Bernoulli random variable looks like. If it's a coin toss, or if it's passing or failing of a student, or if it is any other certain problem that has two binary outcomes, one or the other, then we would generally represent it as success. So this is the general vocabulary that we will use. The two outcomes are usually referred as either success or failure. So if such is the outcomes of a random variable, we say that that random variable is actually reflecting the randomness of a Bernoulli random variable. It must have two outcomes, and if the probability of one outcome is P, the probability of the other outcome must be equal to 1 minus P. Okay, so this is now, you can say, a detailed description of a Bernoulli random variable. So we have only defined the PMF. I'm sure looking at this diagram or this picture, you can very easily understand how the CDF will look like, okay, of a Bernoulli random variable. So here's just an example, just to prove our point, that in a box of happy faces and sad faces, sad face has a probability of 0.09. What is the probability that you would get happiness or happy face out of this box? So it's a very simple problem. Basically it says that there are only two types of outcomes. If one has the probability of 0.09, which is sad face, the happy face must have the probability of 0.91. Okay, so very simply we explain this concept of a Bernoulli random variable. So this is how the PMF will look like. Okay, so from Bernoulli random variable we jump to the next category of the random variable we are interested in. So we have already discussed binomial law. So very easily we can say that a binomial random variable is such a random variable that actually follows the binomial law. Okay, so what was the binomial law, or what is the binomial random variable? So in a binomial random variable we have a repetition of n independent Bernoulli trials. So I have a Bernoulli trial, which means the experiment will be of something of the sort of heads or tails, or generally speaking, experiment will be of the sorts of success or failure. Okay, so I have an experiment that has an outcome of success or failure, and then this experiment will repeat. So in the next trial I will again have a success or a failure. It will repeat with a success and failure, and so on. I can have n different trials, or n number of trials. Okay, so if now I have a Bernoulli random variable with n number of trials, that I'm then calling a random variable a binomial random variable means that in these n random variables I am trying to find the k successes. Okay, I'm trying to find the probability of k successes in these n trials. So this is the definition that completes a binomial random variable, that the image of a binomial random variable is possible k out of n trials. Okay, so because I have conducted n number of experiments, and in these n experiments I could have k successes at different points, at different positions. So if I want to find out what is the probability of k successes in n different trials, then actually I am talking about the binomial random variable. So in future, what you need to remember is that when we are talking about the binomial random variable, we are trying to find out if a certain problem follows this binomial randomness. That is, if a Bernoulli trial is repeated n number of times, what is the probability that I will see the success k number of times? Okay, let me just give you one example, and then we'll move to next slide. So this statement can also be written as, if a student gives an exam and if he passes or fails. So if, for example, in your class there are 40 students, okay, so there are 40 different students that are given an exam, and you are just trying to find out that what is the probability that 35 students actually pass the course. So these 35 students could be different students, different group of students. For example, the first 35 students could pass the course. For example, the last 35 students could pass the course, or any 35 students in this group of 40 could pass the course. Okay, so if you look at each student, and each student is actually a Bernoulli trial because he either passes or fails the course. Then I repeat this experiment 40 number of times. So the value of n is 40 because the experiment was repeated 40 number of times. And I'm trying to find out that what is the probability that 35 students pass this course. So this means that I'm trying to find the probability that k is equal to 35, that success comes 35 number of times. This means that failure comes 5 number of times. Okay, and that is, if you remember, represented by n minus k. Okay, so k is the number of successes, n minus k is the number of failures, and that is the total number of experiments or trials that we call n. And the probability of success of each trial is actually p, which means p is the probability that each individual student will pass this course, which means that each individual student has the probability of 1 minus p of failing the course. So when I repeat this experiment 40 number of times and I try to find out the probability that 35 students pass or 5 students fail, which is the same thing, so then actually I'm looking at a binomial random variable. So in the future, if you look these kind of experiments, you would know that it is actually a binomial random variable. So this is the PMF of a binomial random variable. On the right hand side, you can notice that it is actually the binomial law. So in this example, the k is actually representing the number of successes. So the random variable x actually takes a value of k. Okay, so for example, if k is equal to 35, this means that I'm saying that the random variable has a value of 35, which means that 35 students have passed the course. Okay, so this means that x represents number of students that have passed the course, and x is then obviously, as you can see, a binomial random variable. Okay, and k represents the number of students who have passed the course. So if you look at the formula, a binomial random variable requires you to express 3 variables, that is k, n and p, and I'm sure by now you can understand what k, n and p means. So if you plot the PMF of a binomial random variable for different settings, this is how the PMF looks like. So first look at this n value, this red value, the red dots. The red dot says n is equal to 40, which means 40 experiments were taken place. So this is 40, a total of 40 trials took place. P is 0.5, which means success has a probability of 0.5 or 50%. So there's a 50% chance that the individual Bernoulli trial will pass or fail. So if this is the case, then if you notice these red dots, this is how the PMF looks like. It has a hill-like shape, and the hill comes right in the center at k is equal to 20. Okay, and similarly, if you look at these blue lines, the blue dots, in the case of blue dots, n is equal to 20, so the experiment ends over here. Okay, Obviously k cannot have a value of 25 now because experiment was only repeated 20 number of times. So the value of p is again 0.5. So again at the center at x is equal to 10, you will see the peak of this PMF. Okay, and if you slightly increase the value of p, which is for example over in the green dots, the p is equal to 0.7, and again the experiment was completed only repeated 20 times. So the green dots end over here, and now the center or the peak is not at the center x is equal to 10. In fact, because the success has more chance now, 70% chances of the success, then the success moves towards this side, because we are trying to observe more successes. We are hopeful that there will be more successes than failures. So at this point, in this area, you can say we have more successes and less failures. Or you can say on this side, we have more failures and less successes. So obviously, when the chances of success are high, then this area has to have more probabilities. That is why the green dots are actually kind of shifted towards the right side. Okay, so I hope you understand this distribution, because it will help you to try to understand how a binomial random variable behaves. So when the value of n is actually large, then it is difficult to find out this probability. So if the value of n is very large, then you can also calculate the probability using this expression. Okay, and this is actually a Laplacian approximation of the binomial law. So you can use the binomial, replace the binomial random variables PMF function with this Laplacian approximation. Okay, only when n is very large, so it will give more or less the same answer. So I'll lay this example for you to solve, because as you can see, this is very clearly a binomial random variable. We received 10 bits, so 10 bits are received. What is the probability that 10 bits are 2 bits are in error? Sorry, if what is the probability that less than 2 bits are in error if bit error probability is 0.01? So this bit has a probability that of 0.01 that it will be in error, or you can also say that it has a probability of 0.99 that it will not be in error. I repeat this experiment 10 number of times. It is asking me what is the probability that errors are less than 2. Okay, less than 2 bits are in error. So if I write it down like this, x is less than 2, what it means is that less than 2 bits are in error. So this is equal to the probability that less than 2 means that x must be equal to 1, which means 1 bit is in error, plus another case, probability x is equal to 0, which is also x less than 2. So these two cases justify this event. Okay, so this event can be broken down into these two values. So let's look at these values again. X is equal to 1 means 1 bit is in error. Okay, so you can say that 1 bit is in error and the rest of the 9 bits are not in error. So if x is equal to 1, then this means that being in error is a success for me. Okay, so this is a success for me, that being a bit is in error. And if the bit is in error, that x is equal to 1 means that k is equal to 1, which means only one success or 1 bit in error, and the probability of error is 0.01. So now I have 3 values that I need to that are required to solve a binomial problem: n, which is equal to 10, which is fixed; k is equal to 1, and p is equal to 0.01. Okay. So sorry, this is p is equal to 0.01. So this is how I find out this value. Then to find out this value, I just replace k is equal to 0 and p is still 0.01. So if you notice, this was a binomial random variable. So in the future, when you see this kind of problem, it will be your goal to assess that if this random variable is actually a binomial random variable. So let's discuss the last discrete random variable for today. It is a discrete uniform random variable. So a uniform random variable has a uniform probability for all items, okay, in its image. So if you remember the dice experiment, it was actually a discrete uniform random variable because there were 6 outcomes from 1 to 6, and the probability of each outcome was, if you remember, 1 by 6. So the probability or the PMF of a discrete random variable, discrete uniform random variable, looks like as such that if this is the highest number, that is, this is the nth number, if there are total n values, then the probability of each value is 1 by n, or 1 by 6 in the case of dice. Okay, so this is how a discrete uniform random variable will look like. Okay, so a discrete uniform random variable is again a relatively simpler random variable where the probability of each outcome is constant. It is 1 by n, it is not changing, so it is not dependent upon k. Okay, so even though the k is changing on the x-axis, on the y-axis it is not changing, so it is constant, 1 by n. So as an example, we say that a series was played between 5 teams and all teams are equally likely to win. Okay, so what is the probability that team A will win? Since team A, B, C, D, E, all teams are equally likely to win, it means that winning is actually a uniform random variable, and the probability that team A will win, so the probability that team A will win is equal to 1 by n, the total number of teams. So since n is equal to 5, the probability that team A will win is just 1 by 5. And the probability that team B will win is also 1 by 5 because it's a uniform random variable. So as an exercise, what I would like you to do is design a problem yourself. Like write down a problem so that you can solve it yourself. That problem should represent a Bernoulli, a binomial, or a uniform random variable, whatever you feel comfortable with, because trying to write down a problem yourself will actually help you to write down the solution more easily in future when you see such problems. So you will have a better understanding of finding out what random variable is actually a binomial one, which is actually a uniform one, which is a Bernoulli one. Okay, so write down a problem, try to write its PMF, and try to draw that PMF as well, its distribution. So just for practice, you will have a good understanding of these random variables then. So just to briefly summarize, we studied the discrete random variables. In the discrete random variables so far, we discussed very simply the Bernoulli random variable, the binomial random variable, and the uniform random variable.